Enjoy the ride with Crystal Pt2 Consulting. So inspiring.
Welcome back to part 2 with Charmaine James, and we will continue our conversation with race and religion.
With somebody that sit there and smile and then treats me or don't speak to me but say they love the Lord, and
That's an untruth.
that's the untrue.
Yes.
And so, and he was kind of shocked on it. I can listen to that and hear that, because see, I know where I know what you gonna do, what you're not gonna do. I know where I stand. Other things, people like that, I don't know where I'm standing, because it's either a lack of ignorance or entitlement. And so he asked me, can you tell? I can tell when I walk in the room the spirit of racism.
You can
And I
feel
had
it.
to explain to him the way the Lord explained it to me, because I asked the Lord, I said, why? Because I was feeling it so much. Like, from when I transitioned to that church in 2010, I'm like, this is not a great feeling every day, all the time. He was like, just like a baby knows his mom. That's what the Lord told me. I've literally given y'all that. And it's not just African Americans. It's not that. For survival. So I know how to maneuver myself in situations where I know that I'm not wanted for the color of my skin. And as pastors say, you're a female, so you got to double.
True.
So, but I've also learned how to walk in boldness, in humility, and in love. I also know how to shift it with those that it can be shifted with. With some it can't. It won't ever, unless their heart is healed. That's why it's important for different races to come together and work together, and people see it. And genuinely see it, not just for TV, not just for a picture, a photo op, but I mean, I live life with them. I was their assistant for years. I'm on pastoral staff. I live life with them. And we live life together, and it's seen. When people see us communicate and interact together, you can see it on our first interview. It's very easy for us to talk about it. The church have to understand that we have to deal with it. Why, you asked me that question, but I'm also hearing the Holy Spirit say, why wouldn't it be able to coincide together when the church is made for that?
Okay.
We're built for that. We're built. We're all exclusive. We're built for that.
Yes.
We're supposed to be built for that. But it's when it was twisted and shifted, and the enemy came in with all this other stuff, that no, I'm comfortable in this church because these people look like me, and if you go to this church, you'll sell out. How do you go to this white church and you don't come to the black church? Or how you go to the black church? That's not God. So all my life, I would have said yes, but no, church and race has to be brought together. Martin Luther King said it, at the Lincoln Memorial. Slave owners and slaves should be walking hand in hand. Paraphrasing. All races and colors and creeds should be together.
True.
Should be together.
Yes.
And working together, but it's not. And so for us, we want to know why. We don't want to be the church that continually do the status quo. We want to be a church that really looks like the kingdom. Now, do we totally? No, we're working, but we're 100% better than we was when I walked in there in 2010.
Yes.
100% better.
Yes.
Are we still working on it? Yes. Pastor, he knows when he needs to preach and discuss about it. Like I said before, sometimes he's saying, we're just talking about it too much. It's because dealing with racism is not sweet and easy.
And it really is never ending.
It's not. And so when anything happens, they know if anything happens in America dealing with it, Pastor may have a message that Sunday on it, because we're a church that we're going to process through it and we're going to get it out, because this is ministry of reconciliation is what we walk in. And I can give you, just to answer that question, really, really transparent. It was when I believe the incident with George Floyd. we have sheriff department, in our church. Matter of fact, we have deputy sheriff Dante Miller. I've interviewed him. That Sunday after it, and I went. I took off and I went to the memorial of George Floyd in Houston. So that Sunday, pastor decides to minister on it. He calls me up and we're talking about it, racial reconciliation and understanding the pain and also respecting and understanding and loving. And I have Dante comes up, he hugs me, and we're weeping in front of the church. So you have a police officer, he's an African American police officer, sheriff department. And we're at a part with George Floyd, everybody was like, no to police, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's an African American police officer having to deal with everything.
I couldn't even imagine.
So the service ends. I'm saying to myself, here I go, I'm weeping and crying again. Being so transparent in front of the church again about racism. And I know some people's like, why do we have to keep discussing it? Because it's affecting our nation in the world. And I'm standing at the back of the church, and an elder walks up to me, a part of our board, elder board, and said, I got in my truck and the Lord told me to go back and repent to you. Because I said, people in the church, in front of the church, keep saying, why we keep talking about it? Stop talking about it. Let it go. We can't. Mm-hmm. It's hurting. It's killing people. He said, I was one of the ones that was saying, why do we keep talking about it? I want to apologize. I mean, we weeping.
Wow.
He's weeping. Now I understand, because it came out of your mouth. Because, see, you know me. And that's another thing. I'm a cool black person because you know me. But how are you treating the rest of the black people?
Wow.
And we discuss all of that. You know, Charmaine, I'm at service with you every day. But what if I put my hoodie on? What if you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't know me. How are we treating those that you don't know? How are you treating, even with black people, how are you treating white people that you don't know? You're familiar with me. And so he said, because I know you and I know you personally, it affected me different. So if we don't talk about it, his heart shifts. And he said, I'm going to talk to a friend of mine as a police officer that feels totally opposite, that feel the same way that I was feeling and was going this, da, da, da. And he's like, I'm going to have this talk with racism with him. Now, if we don't do it, no one shifts and change. His heart.
It's a hard issue.
His heart shifted and changed in that moment. Mm-hmm. Instead of, why y'all always going, this is just a Sunday, I'm going to keep moving, da, 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 I'll be glad when he preach something else. No, this is relevant. Mm-hmm. It never goes away.
It never.
And I asked that question, why can't we deal with this? It's a hard, so individually, as a group, as a corporate body, we have to deal with it. So yes, race and church coincides together because it is a heart matter. And are we gonna, everybody's heart's gonna shift and change? No, we're not naive. We're not dumb. We don't think we're gonna dupe everybody, because some people say you can dupe them with this word or dupe. We're not trying to get over on anybody. We're just trying to love. I mean, truly show Christ's love. But his love was real and transparent.
Yes.
And out loud.
Yes.
And shifting and shocking.
Yes. You
You understand what I'm saying? And controversial.
Very.
You know, so we don't mind that. You know, I even asked Pastor, you might want to look at this episode. And he's like, oh, you got it. You know, because we talk about it. Like, our new season is coming out. We talk about Roe versus Wade. We talk about everything inside versus outside the church and how we can come together.
And I know Pastor Felshaw talks about race relations and racial reconciliation a lot from his pulpit, but do you think that all pastors, it's an obligation, it's a must that our pastors, our priests talk about race and racism and reconciliation?
I'm laughing because I was at a meeting in Little Rock, Arkansas, and Will Ford and Matt Lockett travels together. It's called the Dream Company, and Will Ford is an African American. Matt Lockett is a white man, and they were friends. And then in their friendship, they did some genealogy, found out that Matt Lockett's family owned Will Ford family. So there's a slave owner of a, it's literally MLK message.
Yes.
I have the dream message. So I was with them, just wanted to give just a little backstory and explanation of where I'm going. I was in Little Rock, Arkansas with them a number of years ago, and they had regional pastors and leaders, and Matt Lockett asked that question. And I'm like, yeah, every question he asks about racial racism, I'm like, our church do it.
Yeah.
And then he was like, Charmaine, don't raise your hand. Like, we get it. Y'all church do it. And so the last question he asked, he said, do you all as pastors, like you said, priests, preach on racism? Because see, God gave us in the word, he said, I've given you the ministry of reconciliation. That's a gift. And so I didn't raise my hand because a couple of them raised their hand. When we went over to the side, Matt came to me, he was like, a lot of them don't. It just felt bad and raised their hand.
Oh, okay.
And I'm, and we discussed that. I went back and talked to Pastor, and we discussed that on why are we not, as leaders, teaching on the ministry of reconciliation to deal with racism in the nation. I like that when George Floyd's funeral, not the memorial, they invited, I can't think of that pastor name, but he was a pastor of an all-white church in Houston.
Okay.
And when he stood up there, he just said, I know a lot of y'all wondering why I'm here. I'm paraphrasing it. And why would they invite me to be here? And why would I accept the invitation to come and speak at such a time as this, dealing with this? He said, but I had to sit and think about, in my all-white church, am I really dealing with racism? And he said, I'm not.
Wow.
So I talked to my leaders, and I explained to them I had to take this invitation. Mm-hmm. I had to come and speak on behalf of the other side. And I have to plead with my brothers, my white brothers, my white sisters, to discuss it. To discuss it.
Yes, at least.
To talk about it. And so, on the end of the first interview I did with Pastor, he asked me to talk to the pastors and explain to, how would you encourage pastors to deal with racism and explain it in a way that they would understand it. I would say, walk out on Sunday and look at your service.
That's the telltale sign right there.
Look at your staff. I'm not saying we're perfect, but we're working on it. Look at your staff. Look at the congregation. And you tell me, is that kingdom? Is that diverse, meaning? Is it a diversity there? Then that's not kingdom. That's not how you're going to go to heaven and see heaven, because we're not going to be, heaven is not segregated.
At all.
And so, just take a look. And for me, being at one city for so many years, and having to do funerals and weddings and parties, I remember one day I was sitting in a funeral and the Lord was like, look around, and I was like, okay, because I don't care if it's another black person in the room. I'm not reliable. I don't care about the culture in the room. I really don't. Mm-hmm. I could be the only black person and I'm fine. And so I looked around and I was like, it's nothing. I don't understand what you're saying. He was like, there's no diversity. Your funeral and your wedding will tell your life.
Wow.
He told me that. He said, your funeral, your wedding, any major mile markers of your life that you have people intertwined, that you invite them in. You know, baptismal, you know, christenings, anything. He said, look.
I never thought
Look
about
around.
that.
But we're diverse. We'll say, oh, I'm diverse, I have a black friend. Or I'm diverse, I have a white friend. I'm diverse, I have this, you know, ethnic group. He told me, he said, look. I mean, because he deals with us first. He gonna deal with me first. And I said, okay, all right. He said, so how do you want yours to look like? How do you want your funeral to look like? How do you want your wedding to look like? You want it to look like kingdom? Because you profess you kingdom.
Yeah.
I'm kingdom. I'm apostolic. I'm prophetic. So are you really looking at? Because we can say all, it's the actions. It's the perception. People's going to look and see. Are you really walking that walk? Are you just talking it? So I said, okay. So now I sit at all different types of funerals, all different types of weddings, and I look. And I see I see over the years of me being at that church that I'm like, wow, we've shifted. Like, I'm not the only black person.
Yes.
I'm not the only one walking in and everybody's looking like, what is that black lady doing here?
Right.
If I don't have my one city pastoral badge on,
That's
you
what they
just trying
see.
to wondering like, you know, you assuming I did something, or who are you? You at the wrong place.
And why are
Can
you
I help
here?
you? Who are you? You know, and so we had to walk through all that and look at that and say, wow, we really want to look like heaven and we really want to be kingdom. You have to get to know people. You have to start talking to people. You have to embrace people. You have to communicate with people. That's why we say everyone is welcome. We don't gossip about their past. We prophesy about their future. We deal with everyone that comes in our church that's prescribed by the Holy Spirit, not what we think about them. Because you tatted, or you're homeless, or because you're black, or you're Hispanic, or you Korean. We don't do that. We really don't. Are we perfect? No. Because a lot of us still have heart issues we need to work on.
Yes.
So I'm not going to say, come in and because I don't control people. But we want to know. If you come in our church and you feel some kind of way and it's not a good way, we do want to know. Because we want to correct it. Because he preaches and we talk about it from the pulpit. Because we bring in people. Because we go off and do trainings. And because we really want it not to just be about Not in My City and racial reconciliation, but it to be a place where you can come and feel safe and be yourself.
Yes.
And we can help you release your destiny and what God has put in you. So we have a lot of difficult, conversations being a church about racism and the world.
Now, a couple years ago, and I could be off on the time, Pastor Randy Felshaw of One City Church, a white pastor, and Pastor John Adolph of Antioch Baptist Church in Beaumont, Texas, a black pastor, swapped pulpits.
Yes, that was a part of an incentive with Not in My City.
And I don't know if I've heard of something like that
It
before.
wasn't just them. We had a total of 15 the first time, because we've done that twice. And then the second time we had a total of 25. So, yes, we had pastors from all over the region do it.
Why did that happen, and what was the end result of that, of the pulpit swap?
That was during the times we were doing the luncheons and talking, and Pastor was just like, we sit and meet about what you want to do next, how we're going to move. I believe we looked up just different other churches. I know in Dallas that was done. I found an article in Dallas that was done. And we just sat and we talked about it. We even went and visited that church and met with them. And so he said, let's do it. And so that's Pastor. He was like, let's just do it. So got together, with a couple of leaders, talked with them. He talked with them. We emailed them. We got it together, had a meeting. It wasn't just done in Beaumont. It was done in Mid-County.
Oh,
it was done
okay.
in like Jasper. It was done all over the region. Our region is bigger than Port Arthur, Beaumont, and Orange. I know some people think Golden Triangle is the region. It's not. And so on that Sunday, we went in to Antioch at the 7:30 service because Pastor wanted to make sure he was going to host Pastor Adolph at our 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So we went in at the 7:30 service. I was once a member at Antioch, so to me, I was at home. Pastor can preach. He's a preacher. You know, when my first Sunday there, I didn't know what to expect. And I was like, all right, he can preach. And so went in, he was welcome. He's not afraid to go in and stand behind any pulpit. He doesn't care the nationality, the place. He released the word of God. It was welcome. And then the Lord led him to do a prophetic act, is what we call. Communion is a prophetic act. If people don't know that, it's just something tangible that we do to honor Christ's body. So he did a prophetic act, as in he called up. He just picked a guy. He said, "Could you come up here?" Pastor Adolph didn't know, and as a matter of fact, it was one of their elders at their church, and he said, "I want to repent on y'all not feeling welcome at our church. I want to repent on y'all not feeling welcome in certain situations. I want to repent on behalf of my church, and I want to wash your feet." I mean, everybody, I didn't know that was God. I mean,
Wow.
I was like, nah, because I wasn't his assistant at that time. So I just was like, woo. And so it is a picture of him washing the elders' feet.
And he did that in the middle of
In the
service.
middle of service, yeah, his preaching, that was a part of his message.
Wow.
He repented. So we went through the season of apologizing for our church and the history and things. And so when Pastor Adolph came over, our church welcomed him. He did an amazing job. He's an amazing preacher, you know. And so Antioch is like our sister church. You pretty much, anything we have, we invite them. And a lot of churches are. And so that was a big thing. That's why we invited them also to be a part of our summit. And so before that, what I'm thinking back is that Pastor Felshaw's sister, that was probably 4 years before the leaders even got together. Pastor Felshaw and Pastor Adolph got together. His sister was in Macy's, and this lady helped her, and she was like, "Oh, what church do you go to?" The salesperson, and she said, "Oh, my brother is the pastor at Cathedral." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And his sister name is Debbie, and Miss Debbie said, "You should meet our lead intercessor. Her name is Charmaine. She's a black lady." And she was like, "A black lady is at your church leading y'all?" And you know, and so we got connected 4 years. The intercessory teams of Antioch and Cathedral of the Pines at that time got connected.
So
and
the
we
lady
prayed.
at the store, was she a member at Antioch?
She was Pastor Felshaw's sister.
No, the
lady
worker.
the worker at the store, was the lead intercessor at Antioch.
What?
Yeah, I forgot that little piece. Yeah, she was the lead intercessor at Antioch, Minister Pamela. And so we met, got together. Both leaders were like, "Yeah, y'all can pray together, do events together." So we did a 1.5 years of 6 o'clock prayer in our chapel together.
Wow.
Before God he prepared in prayer for all of this. We know that. And when Minister Pamela transitioned out, I was able to connect with Minister Etha, and we continued it on. And so when the pulpit swap happened, our intercessory teams knew each other. So the prayer team was in. We've done all night prayer together. And so it was just, when the leaders came together, it made it better. And they had already known we were already meeting and fellowshipping and praying together. So a lot of times people say, "Oh, these churches came together." They don't know the backstory of how. The leaders had already said, yeah, y'all pray together, y'all get together. Their schedules are super busy. They finally got together, met together, and then, yeah, I mean, Cathedral was at that time a large, predominantly white church. Antioch is the large, predominantly black church in our area. So which, two churches would be better to pulpit swap than them two?
It's true.
And then people see them genuinely loving each other, brothers, and working together. Mm-hmm.
So at One City Church, you are the first, and I'm assuming still the only, African American pastoral staff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I say those words, you're the first and you're the only African American, how does that make you feel?
At first, I'm like, why? Why would I be the first?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be the chosen one to be the first, I don't think. I had a lot to learn. I'm still learning. My temperament is not of a temperament of people. So I was like, you're really pulling me into a ram that I'm like, ooh. The first is humbling. Mm-hmm. It truly is. I'm still humble. I know sometimes people get tired of me always saying, I am the first. I have to say that not to boast or brag. I say that to encourage myself. And it brings remembrance to me of the responsibility and the weight of it. Mm-hmm. In my family, we've had a lot of firsts. My mom was the first African American key puncher hired at Guff. So it's not like it's not in my blood to be the first, mm-hmm. but to actually do it is different. I wish I was not the only. It's just where we at right now. It's just how God has it. If you look, I've learned the history of hiring, the history of finding pastors and ministers is difficult, mm-hmm. Especially finding, I'm not perfect at all, but finding those that are truly righteous, holy, and consecrated to the work. Okay. That's difficult. And finding those that really want to shift things. Mm-hmm. A lot, and some people might be like, oh, I want to stone her for this. A lot of people can have a title of a pastor and a minister, an apostle or prophet, and nothing is shifting or changing. You haven't established anything.
Ooh, you said it out loud.
I just have the card. I just have the title. I don't want to get dirty because literally, we get stepped on. We get walked on. We serve. Some people don't want to break through that barrier or wall to go and be the first at a white church or at a black church. Mm-hmm. We like comfortable. We like status quo. We like to feel at ease. Yeah. I don't feel at ease when my first year hired there, and Pastor Suzanne know that, it was I felt safe Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I did not like Sunday mornings. I had to deal with everybody. Now, I feel safe, but I still have to deal with things. Okay. Some things people see, some things people don't see. But the difference of my first year is that on a Sunday morning, when I have to deal with things, I have pastoral staff backing me up like, you handle that well. Okay. Because sometimes when you have a new person that comes in that's totally different, you don't know what they're experiencing. Right. unless they say it. Sometimes I would never say. I would only tell Pastor and Pastor Suzanne. Now our whole pastoral staff know. We'll sit and talk. We talk openly because the church goes as the leaders go. True. So we sit and we talk. Sometimes they like, sometimes, I call Pastor Seth, my brother, he'll hear it sometimes. He'll see it sometimes, be like, I can't believe I saw that, or I heard that, and you handle that well. It is difficult. You know, that's why I stutter. It is difficult, but it is very rewarding. If I wouldn't have listened to the Holy Spirit, it could have been somebody else. As the word says, many are called, but few are chosen. I know I was the one chosen for this. So being the only one, it just doesn't bother me anymore. I can take pictures and be fine. You can look on our website. I'm on the pictures. I look a little different. I lost weight. I'm fine with it. It took years to get there. It really did. I believe that's why I had to assist first.
Okay.
I had to be the assistant first because I wouldn't consider myself pastoral. I'm very administrative, prophetic, so, you know, but when the transition came, thank God for Pastor and Pastor Suzanne are great teachers. They can see. I put a post out earlier this week. They can see things that in you that you can't even see in you, you know. So they didn't even just look at the natural. They looked at the supernatural of me. And so making me a part of the pastoral team was huge on both sides. I'm sure some people be like, really? And I'm like, really too. But by the grace of God and by watching other pastors on our team, we have a great team of pastors, men and women, married, not married, with children, without children. It's a diverse staff. Be it may not be culturally diverse, but our lives are diverse and different. And so we come together and we deal with what we need to deal with. And I'm praying. I don't want to be the only one. I know I'm not going to be the last one, but we're praying for that person that God would send to come in and help out. They don't have to be black. You know, we have Hispanic pastors. I mean, some Filipino. Let's bring in whoever you want to bring in.
Right.
You know, a lot of people ask me that question. A lot of time, pastor asks himself that question. He truly hires by the heart of a person, not by the title, not even by the experience. I did not have experience in church. I worked in the secular world all my life. I went to church on Sundays, yes. I helped out at retreats, but I wasn't in church like that. Like full-time church was not my ministry or my occupation. So we would hope more would come and God would send, but at this time we do what we do with what we have. Right. And that's right now me. And I'm not the encyclopedia of the African American people. They know that. Right. I don't know all things black. I don't like that. But I know, as I said on our first interview, we have a college ministry out of Lamar group. They've come to service some Sundays, and that's when I was pastoring and assisting at that time. And a group of African American girls came up to me, like 3, and said, "Who are you?" I just said, "I'm Charmaine," and they said, "No, what do you do?" Okay. Because you move with pastor, you in authority, some kind, you do, and I just explain. They were like, "We feel comfortable that we see somebody that look like us." You want to walk in and still see someone that looks like you, but you also want to walk in and become a part of.
Yes.
And so many times you go to churches, you see no one, and that's what they were saying. We were shocked to come here because we assumed it was predominantly all white church, that they would have no one black in leadership. So if it's not just for me to be the only black person for those 3 girls, I'm fine.
Yes. And that leads directly into my next question. So being the only African American on staff at One City Church in Beaumont, Texas, what do you think that did for you? What did it do for the church? And what did it do for the community?
So it's like positive and negative sometimes. Okay. What it did for me, it really showed me my strengths. It also showed me some things I didn't even know was in me. Okay. it showed me temperance, self-control on some things. It showed me my fears and my insecurities. It also showed me some strengths spiritually. It also showed me even being administrative, some things, giftings I had I didn't even know I had. But in the community, I've gotten some good things and some harsh things. I mean, we talked about it at our luncheon, and I'll share that story. I'm very transparent. I was at a church, predominantly all black church. They were very shocked that I was even a minister, let alone at that time I wasn't pastoral, but let alone leading in prayer, let alone touching the mic. And they just couldn't get out of the question of, so you're ordained minister at, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And the leader that invited me was so embarrassed. So I was inside saying, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to say, but yes. So I was like, yes. And I was like, Holy Spirit, I don't know what to. They asked me could you show me your credentials?
No.
So I was like, whew, that was a biggie.
That was.
And so, but thank God, because we have great pastors and they are very administrative and they believe in everything done decent in order. So not only I don't walk around with my ordination certificate. We have small, at that time, Cathedral on the Pine, small ordination travel cards that we used to go in the hospitals and stuff like that. So I had to pull it out and show them.
My goodness.
And I was,
and this is by African Americans.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, literally, certain African American leaders found out I was at that church, and I left that church and was like, "Was she a member? Why did she leave my church? Why?" Because it was very, huge for me to be there. I didn't understand it until the reactions and the response from others, and so some people speak. Some people won't. Some African American people will be like, "Oh, you fell short, girl." No, wait.
Wow.
Yeah, I get
That's
a
not
lot.
good.
I've gotten a lot of stuff, and he's heard it. We've had conversations. I've explained different things. He's been shocked. From my African American community, it has been difficult here in Southeast Texas. I can say that. I've been disappointed. I don't like that for Southeast Texas we have to be so divided.
Right.
I'm getting a little emotional. We have to be so divided. It has always have to be a black and a white thing. To where we're having a new generation of young people that don't even care about that.
Thank God.
But we still have an older generation. And I'm not even saying older. I won't even say that. But we just have people that just want it. It's the black people time. It's this time. It's time. Yeah. And I just.
And they want to keep it that way.
It's the status quo. It's happy and fun. So when I walk in normally, it's like wah wah wah. Either they'll speak to me sometimes they won't even acknowledge me. They'll talk to pastor before they'll talk to me. And he'll see that and we'll discuss that. But I would hope we would be better. I really do. And how can we get better? I kind of smile. When they do it, I honor. I have to look over it a lot of times. But when it's time for me to vote for you, or if it's time for me to do this for you, to do an event for you, if it's time for me to speak for you, oh, that's my girl. Well, no. So we have to have that talk. So I'm not afraid to have the uncomfortable talks. So for me, it has been good. Some people have pulled me aside and said, I am like so happy you doing this. Like I couldn't do it, but I'm happy you doing it. To keep it real, I couldn't do it, but I'm happy you doing it. And some people say, how are you doing? I love those people. How are you doing? Some people say, well, how do you deal with being the only black in the room? Or how do you deal with if they're, trying to do black gestures? I deal with different situations different. because they're not always doing that. They're not always trying to act per se down. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that. But, and then I'll have some people say, are you going to stay? Are you going to transition? Or is this always going to be your home? Or do you think God is going to call you somewhere else? You know, I did this a couple of years ago. I probably do it every 3 years of me being there. And I just stopped doing it every 3 years. And I would say, God, you know, am I going to be here forever?
Wow.
You know, am I here?
Yeah.
And he'll just, I wouldn't hear him, or he'll just say, this is your season. The last time I did it, he was like, the Felshaw family is a part of your life forever, regardless of you are seated in that position or not. They're a part of my life forever. And so in the community, I would hope that they are now seeing that we're real, that we're not just doing this to do it, that like, you know, you were told, like, she's behind the scenes. I prefer to be behind the scenes a lot, to do the things that I need to do. That's just the administrative part of me. And the intercessor part of me, I intercede. I rather intercede behind closed doors. But as God start transitioning and transforming me, he was like, it's time for you to come out. And I didn't understand that until Pastor asked me to do the show.
Okay.
So I know at the beginning some people's like, oh, they doing a show, you know. It was a joke. I think I really felt that it was. But we're serious about this show. We're serious about it being on YouTube. We were so serious about it that he literally put a mandated date on me, and I was freaking out. He didn't even tell me. He just announced it to everybody I was doing a show. I didn't even know I was doing a show. I freaked out. Pastor Suzanne said, did you know? No. And our leaders are true leaders. They will guide and direct, but once they give it to you, they trust you
to do it.
So that he didn't walk me through and tell me how to do anything. I'm not a puppet. He didn't just dictate everything. He said, Charmaine, take this, do this, you do it. We need to be filming. That was 2001, the end of September. He said, I need a show done by December 2001. And so we did it. And we continue doing it, and we continue being faithful. And within 9 months, we were approached by a network, and now we on a television stations in Houston and Katy and Austin, Texas. So we know, if nobody else know in the community, we know God has chosen us to do this. And even sometimes I am weary in it, and then pastor will say, do this, Charmaine, or do this, Charmaine. And once I start doing it, I feel the grace and the strength of God on it. So I would hope the community would be proud of us by doing this and bringing in people on the show that are out of our community, that's doing things in our community, that has touched our community, and to put a light on the Golden Triangle, not just Beaumont, Texas, but the Golden Triangle, Southeast Texas. So it, like I said, it's been the hardest thing I've done, but it's been the best thing I've done. I wish I could say everybody loves what we're doing, but they don't.
I don't think that would ever be the case anyway.
So, you know, I wish that everybody would support what we're doing, but they don't. And I'm not saying that because I want people to support it. We want people that is just genuine about the ministry of reconciliation, is what I'm trying to say. We just don't want people to come in and be just, I'm just going to fly in today and fly out tonight. That's not what we want. We really trying to build a bridge, to be the gap,
yes, so to speak,
where there's large holes in our area. Like you said earlier, people like that it's segregated. And that's just, I mean, you're from what, Orange, Texas?
Yes.
That's part of our region.
Yes.
People like that. That literally for me, because the Christ that I believe in, Jesus, God, You know, that they're grieving over that. That's not what we're supposed to be about, especially the church.
Especially. Do you feel like, and this is kind of a hard question even for me to ask, but do you feel like you were hired because you're Black?
Now that question was brought up in my first interview. I'm glad.
Okay.
I love questions like that. I told you you could ask anything.
Mm-hmm.
When I was brought in to that interview with Pastor Suzanne and Kim, it was a part of the interview that he asked, you know, Pastor Suzanne and Kim to leave, and he started explaining the history of the church and his history.
Mm-hmm.
And they had before they came back to Beaumont, because both of our pastors are from the Golden Triangle area. Pastors from Mid-County, Pastor Suzanne's from Deweyville. They had always had multicultural churches. See, people don't understand. You don't know the history of people. We perceive a lot about it.
Right.
People. So they always, the Lord would always allow them to birth churches or help pastors plant churches.
Okay.
So they had like Ugandans. I mean, they just had different type of churches that they've planted with different races of people.
Mm-hmm.
That people don't even know about, that they get asked to go and like come back and to our anniversary of these churches.
Okay.
And it wasn't like they sought these people, like with Pastor Enrique. The Lord, he was driving, that's 4 months before I entered that property.
Mm-hmm.
He was driving and the Lord said, go to that church, that pastor will help you start a church. But first submit to him and serve him. And he walked in, did not know if he was gonna meet the pastor or not,
Mm-hmm.
had an appointment, and then bam, they there. And Pastor Enrique has never left, they're still there. We still have our Hispanic church. And that's how it would happen for them. I'm probably leaving out a lot of how it would happen for them before they came back to Beaumont. But pastors would walk in of different cultures and said, the Lord sent me and said you would help me. And then, you know,
Okay.
Uganda, I mean, you have a church, you know, you helping this pastor plant a church in America, not in another country, here.
Yes.
And so they had always had that in their heart. They just needed to know when their church was ready. Their
Okay.
church was not ready when they walked in to do that. They explained to a lot of people that, and to their leaders, that they are multicultural pastors. That's just their heart. The church shift before I got there. I know in my interview, I'm just trying to go back of the way Pastor explained to me. He said that he was concerned, of course, with me being the first African American. But he sat and he talked with his associate pastor at that time, and that pastor was Pastor Jeb. He said, if there's no other time to do it, the time is not to do it.
Yes.
So when you are getting ready to do something that is so historical and big, it's important to have people that back you.
It is.
So he had Pastor Suzanne, he has his associate pastor, he had all the other pastors there ready.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't know it actually was going to happen with me, you know. And then by my second interview, he said again, you know, you answered the questions and you never pretty much backed down. My profession before going to one city is that I worked 16 and a half years for Buckner's Children Village and Family Services. So I worked in a multicultural environment with all types of kids. Some people will be like, oh, that's behavior kids. All types of kids.
Yes.
Abandoned, abused, neglected, mental issues, all kind of kids. And honestly, I was really looking at the kid. I could care less what color the kid was. we're trying to help the kid
Right.
find a placement, or if you permanent living with us, we're your parents, pretty much. And so my interview was based on how I dealt with my Buckner kids. So anytime he told me anything that was negative, and nothing against the church, that what I would have to deal with as being the first African American person, I would just answer it like I would answer dealing with a kid, like, because God would tell me you're only dealing with adults. It's the same behavior. So it's not like you couldn't do it. It's just, for me, I had to adjust from working with, loving on kids to working with and loving on adults. To me, kids don't know. You know, kids been taught that. To me, adults, they know what they're doing. You know,
but they choose.
And they choose. So I had to have a paradigm shift too in my way of thinking of dealing with people. So a lot of people say, well, you're the first black, you know, person at the church, and you're on staff, and you pastoral, and oh, what did you go through? No, I had to shift some things about me that wasn't right. I went from a place of total boundaries. Working with kids like that, you couldn't be in my fingertip of distance. If you in my boundary. To people always want to hug and touch on you. So it wasn't just me going into a church environment or a different environment and learning and dealing with stuff that was going to be thrown at me. They had to deal with my stuff too. That's the beauty of it.
You never think about the other side of it.
That's the beauty of, because we always, and I probably get stoned about this too, want to be victims. It's always victim this or that when it's racism or that. And I'm not saying it's no victims. I'm just saying, if I take my responsibility of what I've done, and I know if you take yours, then we can come together and we can talk about it. That's why I don't mind being in front of somebody that's saying, I really don't. Some people say that you like abuse. No, I know where I stand. I know the truth of the matter. I know the atmosphere. I know where I'm at. I know how I can maneuver and move, and what I can do by way of the Holy Spirit. But I had to get cleaned up too. You know, it's a joke like, Charmaine is not hooky. No, not really. But I had to learn to. I couldn't go into the church and be like, and I actually did. So some things about me had to shift. Some things about me had to change. Some issues that I had about trust had to shift too.
Okay.
Some things with racism of saying, oh yeah, my parents did bring me up. I'm multicultural. I can be around. But what if white people is calling you a nigger, or what if white people is doing this, and how you gonna deal with that on a regular? How you gonna deal? And I'm not saying that happened in the church all the time. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the Lord had to. I had to get face to face. You know, as Michael Jackson say, the man in the mirror. I had to do that with myself. So when I'm sitting in front of you, I can be honest and transparent. And when you know, we sat in front of each other, you know, for lunch, and you was like, is anything off limits? No. Why would it be off limits? Yeah. I'm hiding something then.
Right.
In the media world, I mean, I'm just entering in there.
Yes.
But you're hiding. No, nothing. Nothing is off limits. Yes. Because I'm only speaking my truth. That's why I say, I hope I'm saying this right for them, because I might be adding or taking away. But for me, I had to deal with, I know this member, this elders really don't like me because I'm black, but I still got to give the love of Christ to them. I still have to respect them. I really think, and I know that they think I'm stupid or I'm dumb, and I'm not really that intelligent, but that's okay. Wow. Because the color of my skin, or because I choose at times to speak in ebonics, because I do that too. I do play a little like, let's just see if you're really ready for the black girl. I had to deal with that too. God was like, stop testing the people. You know, so if we're gonna be real, we gotta be real. At the beginning, I was like, you come in this place, And Kim left. Kim trained me for a week, and Kim left the state.
Yes.
So Kim was the only one I knew, and I only knew Kim for 2 months.
Yes.
So I was literally the only black person by myself.
Oh.
You know, and but they were gracious. They were loving. They understood. I've been in the hot seat. I've been corrected. I've been talked to. I've been on probation. Not afraid to say that.
Wow.
You know, so it's not like we perfect. It's not like they made exceptions for me, because they did not at all, and they didn't have me make exceptions for them either. I would get called many a times, and Pastor is very frank and transparent about it. When I said it, did that offend you?
Okay.
He would go. We would leave. I might get a call at 6 o'clock. When I said did that offend you, and I'm like, what are you talking about, Pastor? Because literally, you got to go real over the board to offend me. Because I've been in offensive situations since 2010.
Yes.
And pretty much all my black life.
I love it, my black life.
My black life, because that's,
Yes.
we and so, no, and my parents, my family, I thank God for them. We live out loud at home, so we can talk about everything. And so, and we joke about it, we joke about everything. And so they'll make sure, like, hey, don't come in here acting this certain way and being this certain way.
Yes.
So I'm not Pastor Charmaine with them. I'm Charmaine. And so and Pastor said, well, what do you want me to call you on my first interview? You call me Charmaine.
My name.
You don't have to call me. I know what you're saying. Do I go by black or African American? I understand that.
Yes.
I'm Charmaine James.
Yes. Now, of course, representation matters. Do you feel like more black people and black families have joined One City Church because you were there and because you are in leadership?
Yes, I do. Because it's the perception, optics. But I do want to give honor to the African American families that was there before me. There were a number of families there, members of the church before me, that a lot of people asked them why they stayed. I thank Pastor Susanna. One night she allowed me to really tell my testimony, probably a year of me being there. And after that, that's when those elders I call came up to me and said, we are so amazed and thankful that you were so transparent on not feeling welcome, feeling this way and that way, because we felt all of that, but we didn't know how to verbalize it. And we have been praying for God to bring you here. Those are like elders to me. I love them. They got really knocked around by family, by people, by members of why you still here, why would you still go there? Is no one that looked like you there? And then when I got there, it just, all their prayers were answered, I would say, because that's what they told me. And so now, Pastor Suzanne know that a lot of African American members will come to me and say, it's just so good to see you. I'm just so happy that you're here. How do you deal with this? And how do you deal with that? And I just know God sent us here. I know this is our church. Has it always been like this? Or give me the history of the church. I know Pastor preached about this and y'all talk about this. You look at our worship team now, and it's like, if I would throw up the 2010 worship team to the worship team now, it'd be like, wow, what is this? It's different. So it is important, and we know that. And Pastor, he made it a point. That's brought to my remembrance. I'm glad you asked that question. To tell me in my interview, I'm not hiring you as a token.
Okay.
And so when he told me that, I just looked and I said, okay. So I started, which I know what, a lot of times we think we know what a token means. So I just started researching a token and what a token means. And it wasn't until 2017-ish I was praying, and we were getting ready to do really our Black History, probably our first one. And the Lord really explained to me that people focus on a token Black person or whatever it can be, and the world focused on that, but I want you to look up be token, and that's what you are.
So is that two
So-
words, be and token?
It's a one word.
Okay.
Be token is a sign. It's a signal of things changing. So I had never heard of that word in my life before, so that's not me. And I looked it up. It's in my phone. I look at it and watch it and read it and memorize it a lot. Because we always want to say, well, you're the only Black and you're the first Black, you're a token. No, I'm not. I'm not a token. I'm not Uncle Tom. I'm not none of that. I know exactly who I am. And so from that, I mean, that was from 2010. I had to go through a process. And then when he actually showed me and gave me the word of be token, I was like, what? Even pastor's like, what? I was like, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I showed him the definition. He was like, it's a sign. It's a signal that something is shifting and changing. So some people think that because I am still the only Black pastoral staff, that I'm a token. No. I know that I am a be token. And honestly, I've been told at the beginning I wasn't the one that I should have been chosen.
Wow.
And I'm fine at that.
People are brutal.
I'm saying this not out of being ugly and making people feel like people were ugly. I'm giving the reality of what we've walked through, because it's not me. With me and Pastor Suzanne and that pastoral staff, the elders, from over the years, the pastoral staff from over the years, the members from over the years that's still there, from the beginning of even Pastor and Pastor Suzanne being there. The hats off to them. We've done a lot of work, and not a work that has been easy. To deal with racism is not easy
At all.
Okay, so yeah, we've been beat up, but we have a lot of victories, and we loved each other through it. We've learned how to say, it's just a bad day. We're not going to talk about that one right now. We're not going to agree. We're going to agree to disagree. And agreeing to disagree is great, because that's your truth. I'm not trying to bend them towards my truth. I'm not trying to bend, they're not trying to bend me. We're really trying to allow everybody be themselves. Individuality is key, because God has created us. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. We're unique. And so that's really how we look at it. But it's been a ride. It's still a ride. I'm here. I love it.
Yes.
And I love them. But I told you earlier, I'm not going to sugarcoat or hide or sweep under the rug or not be transparent with you, because it's somebody else that's the first that need to hear this.
Right.
It's somebody else that's sitting in and just beginning to be the first. It's somebody else that was the first that can call me and help me, continue to do what I need to do. And we call it in our church really forerunners or pioneers. And so I could have been happy and safe and comfortable. Retiring from Buckner's Children's Village this past year, because they just closed off their campuses. They still open, but not, don't have the campus, and would have been happy with that, because there I was first there too. I was the youngest, but the most seniority staff there. But I was the youngest, but I had been there the longest. So a lot of time God show us what we're gonna be all of our lives. He's just preparing us.
Exactly. Now, in the 60s, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X both said that Sundays is the most segregated day or hour of the week. And even in 2023, you and I have discussed this, that's still the case.
It's very much.
Do you think that would ever change, that Sunday would stop being the most segregated day of the week?
I pause on a little bit, because and leaders not gonna, it's the leaders. It's the leaders. Leaders have to choose that.
Okay.
You know, and not just the leaders individually, we have to choose. I was raised in all black church, Catholic church all my life. Then I transitioned to an all black Baptist church. Then I transitioned to another all black Baptist church. And then as learning and seeking more God, literally I wasn't even invited. I visited the church and then loved it. Community church in Orange was predominantly white church.
Yes.
So I was driving from Beaumont to Orange because that's where I felt the presence for me. And it wasn't about comfortable or uncomfortable. I had moved beyond that. So as an individual, you have to decide, where do you want to go deeper with God? As a leader, you have to decide, you know, and I said this on the first interview session we had with Pastor. You have to decide, you know, is losing a couple of members better and some tithe money okay, or is it, or you just don't want to lose that and gain kingdom and gain people that can come into your church that you didn't even know had giftings to help your church. You know, releasing some control, releasing some fear. A lot of times, you know, people, I just like them. I have the right. I just like to be in an all black church. I have a right. I like to be in an all white church. I have a right. I like to be in whatever culture you know I am. I feel safe and comfortable. It look like me. I don't have to try. I don't have to work. I don't have to do this. You know, that's that one day of the week that I'm not dealing with anyone but somebody that looks like me, and I'm comfortable and I'm fine and I can deal with all the other stuff. But that's not kingdom. That's not heaven. And for us, we believe that we don't wait to get to heaven to start releasing heaven or being a part of heaven. The word says on earth as it is in heaven.
Right.
We release heaven on earth now. We don't wait. And so to do that, you have to have all different types of people. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, I don't care. I mean, I can go down the list. I don't care if you're introvert, extrovert. You know, we all have to learn how to get along.
Right.
We all have to learn how to respect one another. Everybody have giftings and anointings. You know, and I'm hearing Pastor's voice in my head now. You know, America is a melting pot.
It is.
It's a gumbo.
It is.
We have so much. So why won't, for me, I can't speak to anyone else, why on Sunday we just want it bland and one just flavor?
I've never heard it put like that before,
Why?
but it makes sense.
Why?
It makes sense.
You know, I mean, we joke about a lot. We talk about a lot of different things. We joke. We will talk about, you know, stereotypes. We'll talk about it. You know, I know it's out of love, but it's the truth. You know, some people can dance, some people can't.
True.
You know, so, and it's not about all black people can dance. Some black people can't. It's not that all white people can't dance. Some white people can. So we have to get out of that mindset that has just brought us to a place of segregation. I mean, when you say that word, it's like that's a 60s. No, we're still divided.
There. Still
so we want to say politically correct. We still divided, which is segregated. Go ahead.
Do you think that Sunday segregation, I phrase it like that, is a problem of racism or a result?
I think both. I believe it's a problem and a result. We know through history that's just what it was. But as the laws changed, no one else changed. The church didn't change with the laws. if I can put it like that.
Yes.
That makes sense. So, laws say we can go wherever we want to go. I can go in any church I want to go in.
Right.
But the mentality of the law of segregation, I believe, still remains in the church, in church people.
And why is that? Why is it that it seems, and I'll stress that word, it seems that every other aspect has changed and is no longer segregated, or we have betokens. Thank you for that word. We now have betokens and, you know, just about every aspect. How is it that the church has remained immune to that progress?
And that's what we talk about as a staff and some local leaders of the church is not really relevant. The church has not progressed with the times, if I can say that. The church in some places have stayed just stuck. And so to be, and some people like a progressive church, but really to be relevant and understanding of the times, that means you have to know what's going on in the world. So when the church decided to stay in the four walls of just their church, and things start shifting and changing and laws start changing, and then when laws changed and the church got mad, then we look weird. Because we don't even know what's going on.
Right.
Then when some churches want to be relevant to find out what's going on, well, then you too secular. When Jesus, he did the majority of his work outside of the four walls.
True.
He was not in the temple.
It's true.
So when you study the Gospels and you study how relevant Jesus was and is, we need to look at that as the body of Christ. That's why some people are like, oh, a mega church is too much. Well, you know, that's a place where a multitude of people can come from multiple places, multiple cultures, and feel safe, get a word, you know, get energized, renewed, refreshed, and go out and shift their culture. And honestly, that's what services Sunday is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be every Sunday we're just, oh, you dealing with the same thing. No, you get healed from that thing. You go back out to heal somebody else. You come back, you bring somebody else in. It's not for us to stay in and just be a social club. It is about for us to meet the needs, not just of each other, but our community. I mean, when they met, when the church finally formed in the New Testament, it was in homes. It was all over. You know what I'm saying? So I believe we became like an institutional place, bogged down into tradition and legalism, that right now, and I just believe for a while, God is just like, wake up, church. I mean, church, wake up. Because really, people need us.
Yes.
They need us.
Yes.
I can hear them talking on TikTok. People are like, oh, TikTok. On TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Because I'm a pastor don't mean I don't know that. You're supposed to know that.
You are.
You're supposed to know that. And so, how are you going to minister to them? So I believe that it's like I said before, it's both. A paradigm shift has to happen in a leader, in the body, and you're gonna lose people. We've lost people. I would have loved to say, oh no, everybody loved it and stayed and loved pastor and it's preaching about racism. It's preaching. I mean, he hits every topic. He does not leave topics out. He's in government. He's a pastor that's a city councilman. He talks about issues. And so it depends on, like I said again, the leader. That's all I keep hearing. The leader has to do a shift. Okay. And that might mean you lose people. That might mean you get voted out. Sometimes you get voted out to get voted back into somewhere that's better.
Okay.
A lot, I had to learn, and I'm sure Pastor and Pastor Suzanne had to learn it as well, that being comfortable is just not how we live. We're constantly moving as a church, as leadership. So we're not meant to always be there. So I'm trying to make it better for the next person that comes. What if I just sit in a position and do nothing?
Oh.
And I am that token. And then I have this radical next generational person coming they should be able just to slide into my position with ease and then shift us and advance us to a whole nother dimension, not even a level, in racial reconciliation, in healings, in whatever we're called to. It shouldn't be, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to hold a seat and nobody can have it and it's just going to be status quo. No, I want, because that means you transition to me to something different and better.
Right.
And people don't see that. Some people really probably gonna say, you gotta lose to win sometime, like Fantasia say. You gotta lose sometime to win.
Yes.
And so I had to lose a lot of days to be sitting here in front of you. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we don't count the cost, and when we count the cost, we get fearful.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I'm speaking to Christian leaders, nothing is impossible for our God. I don't even know why we tripping. Why are we tripping over these stuff?
Yes.
Because you're saying racism is bigger than God. And it's not.
It is not.
It's not. I'm not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I get upset and angry all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I know my God. And so, to me, it's both. Until we have a total paradigm shift in the body on the Sunday 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock services, I don't think we're going to impact as many people as we think we should be, because we're supposed to be shifting and impacting the world, not other Christians.
Right.
We're supposed to come in on Sunday, get the word, worship together, love on one another, get equipped, get empowered to go out to equip and empower others. And yet, everybody got to come to one city church. Nope. No. But I'm still supposed to equip and empower you and show you and let you know who Jesus is, so that your life can be better. Because there's a lot of hopeless people right now.
Is it?
Yeah. And so that is what I feel Sunday should be about. But it took Pastor and Pastor Adolph to do that. It took those other pastors, Pastor Charlotte Moses and Pastors Jessica and Donnie Robbins, to switch and swap pulpits together to do something different. And now they have friendships.
Yeah. And
And now the churches, communicate and commune together and fellowship together. And so this is a huge thing. Like, this interview is not easy. It's a very hard topic. That's why I stutter and stumble, or I'm pausing. And not that I'm trying to, formalize an answer or a message. I'm trying to give you the reality of it, is that sometimes it can be very hopeful, sometimes it cannot. But we really rely on each other and the Word of God to give us hope on how to deal with. It's by the grace of God, we're not Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We haven't been Sacramento, California. We haven't been, we haven't been Dallas. We haven't been a lot of places. Because our area could be.
quickly. Yes. And
You know?
really any area.
In really
Yes.
any area, but it's by the blessing and the grace of God our area have it. And so I believe it is really our mandate in this area to work together, and in any area. But I know living in where we live, in the divisive division, this side or that side, pro this, pro that. God has really graced us to where we're not.
Yes.
And I do believe, I'm not saying not in my city is a part of that. I believe it's many people prayers. Because prayer was first before Not in My City. Intercessory teams came together. Prayer has really kept a lot of things stable here in our area. But for a Sunday morning, I mean, I'm in a lot of different churches around the nation on some Sundays. I travel. I don't just do Not in My City. I travel for ministry, and I walk into different churches, and thank you, Holy Spirit. Will Ford, bringing him to Beaumont. This was his first time in years when we brought him the first time being back in a full black church and being able to minister. He was so emotional because of what he ministered in the ministry of racial reconciliation. He mainly ministers in white churches. You would think in black churches.
You would think.
And so you asking me on a Sunday morning, and it's just flooding back all this stuff we've been through. And he was sitting at Antioch. They was feeding us after the service, and he was weeping. And we kept saying, "You okay?" He was like, "I had not," and he's a graduate from Morehouse. He said, "I had not ministered for years. It just got me in a prominently all black church.
Wow.
With my people," is what he
Yes.
said. In years, because what he ministers is normally in predominantly white churches.
I would not have even thought that.
So I need people that's watching and listening and understanding. Your perception of certain things may be totally off because you're not researching and you're not connecting and you're not, associating yourself with other people outside of who you are. And so, I know I'm black, and I'm fine with that, but I know I'm Christian as well.
Right.
I also know that I'm called to everyone. I'm not just called to stay in the four walls of the church. You look at my social media page, I'm a lot of different places. Most leaders would not be, but I'm called to that. And my pastors and leaders know that. But how else are we supposed to bring them the word and release who Christ is? And Jesus is and was. He was a multiplicity of things.
Yes.
He was not segregated to the point for the woman in the well, he broke all traditions.
All.
And
even
sent his people
healing
away.
on Sundays.
Yes.
Breaking tradition, breaking laws.
So it's going to be an individual decision as a leader on Sundays, just like it was that. And I really wish I knew that pastor's name out of Houston. I believe he was a pastor at like First Baptist Church in Houston that spoke at George Floyd's funeral. He stepped out of
his comfort
zone. His church's comfort zone. And I guarantee you they're reaping the benefits now. I'm telling you. Once Pastor and Pastor Suzanne made a decision together to do what they're doing, even just to come back here in 2009, but to shift with me in 2010 and then in 2016 with Not in My City. That's huge. And so we know we might not see fullness and all the fruit now. We don't just do it for us to see now, we do it for the next generation. Like we're reaping the benefits of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Now. Yeah.
We really are. Some people
Yes.
are like, oh, Malcolm X. No, we're reaping some benefits from him.
Yes. Yes.
Because they both did say it, you're right. We're reaping benefits from that. And people have to understand it's not just about me reaping now. It's not about me getting it now. It's not about me getting credit now. It's not about everybody knowing about Not in My City, loving out Not in My City, jumping on board. It's about what is just trailing and just launching and pioneering a path for the next generation.
Now, we have spoke about One City Church and Not in My City at length during this interview. If people wanted more information or wanted to volunteer, how can they do that?
First, if you want information, of course, about One City Church, you can get on our website at onecitychurch.church, www.onecity.church. We're here in Beaumont, Texas, at 2350 East Tex Freeway. You are welcome to stop in. We have services at 10 a.m. And also you can get all the information about Not in My City on that website as well. But if you want to watch some of our episodes, you can watch us on our YouTube channel, Not in My City. If you also want to see some of our television shows, we're on 20 TV Live Katy, Houston, Texas, and Austin, Texas, and you can stream our shows at www.stream.live or www.notinmycityunite.tv. My social media handles, just to find out anything about Not in My City, is Not in My City on Unite on Instagram, and CHAROJA is my personal Instagram. My Facebook is Charmaine James, and the Not in My City Facebook is Not in My City. That's why I brought my card.
Yes.
If you want to get in touch with me personally, you can get in touch with me on my, email me at cjames@onecity.church. Not in My City has a a website as well, and it is not-in-my-city.com. But anything you need, you can email me, like I said, at cjames@onecitychurch, and I'll get in touch with you. You can call our church. I'll give you all the information. You can tag to it. I'm trying to make sure I didn't leave nothing else because we talked about a lot today, y'all. But like I said, the best way to get in touch with me is cjames@onecity.church.
Excellent. And we'll make sure to get those graphics up so people will have a chance to write it down and see it. So now we're going to do a little lighter portion of the interview.
Good.
We've talked about a lot of heavy
It took me
stuff.
all over the world.
Yes.
In generations, centuries. I feel like I've been in a time machine.
You handled it. You handled it.
Y'all.
You handled it. So we're going to do some quick hitters.
Oh,
so basically, first thing that comes to mind,
Woo.
let me know what your answer is.
Okay.
So first one, what is your favorite day of the week?
My favorite day of the week is Friday.
Friday, okay.
Yes.
5 dinner guests that you can invite, dead or alive.
Ooh, wow. Oh my gosh. 5 dinner guests. Of course, Martin Luther King.
1.
I would also invite George Washington.
Okay.
I would like dead or alive Jesus.
Okay.
Most people would have thought I said that first. I also would like Noah.
4.
And then my last one, let's make it good. Let me see, who would it be? To round it off, dead or alive, I think I would do Billie Holiday.
She was so gorgeous.
See, I had to, I want to
so
have,
talented.
I just would, I would want to, talk
Yes,
about her.
yes. Okay, what do you do to relax? What does Charmaine do to relax?
I shop. I love movies.
Okay.
I normally will also do some binging on Netflix, Apple TV. That's me.
Okay.
I also like to just listen to like live music, so I'll go to Houston a lot, and just all restaurants pretty much there have live music. I like spending time with my family. Me and my sister like do concerts, so I'll do that. But to relax, sometimes I'm just laying in bed with talking to no one because we talk a lot, and just binging TV. Yeah.
Okay. So who is your favorite musical artist?
Oh no. Oh, that's hard. I love my favorite musical artist. I can't just name one.
Okay, give me a couple then.
I love pretty much all genres of music. So some people might say you're not saved, but I am. So of course Billie Holiday.
Yes.
I like Fats Domino as well.
Yes.
I like, I'm kind of giving a lot away. Of course, when I was younger, I grew up in hip hop. So I still listen to some hip hop.
Okay.
So it'll be different hip hop artists. If I give it away, people be like, you're not saved. I like Sade. I like Yanni. I love Yanni. I Michael Bublé. I listen to all genres of music.
Okay.
I like Bon Jovi. I know I'm giving myself away on a lot of stuff. People gonna be like, "Oh, she's not saved." Yeah, I like John Bon Jovi. I was born in the '70s, so I'm a '70s person.
Yes.
I love the Commodores. I love the Commodores with Lionel Richie.
Right. There's a difference. There's a difference.
With Lionel Richie. Easy, like Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. I also, I'm an NE. I love New Edition. Just went to their concert. Guy, all of them was there. So I loved all the groups that was there.
Okay.
Like Michael Jackson. I'm all over with music. Some people wouldn't have thought that, but I am. I love gospel. I love Christian music as well. That's the majority of my life. But choose, like I said, I'm with music. I can't just name one.
Okay. Last question for quick hitters. If you could live anywhere, where would you live?
I'm living there. I'm living
In Beaumont?
I'm living there.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
I
surprised
travel.
by that answer.
I travel a lot. I do. A lot of places I'd say, oh, and about the third day I'm ready to come back. And some people will say, no. Or some people say it's hard to get out of here. I never had the mentality of getting out. I have the mentality that I'm allowed in. I'm allowed to be here. Beaumont, the name is Beautiful Mountain. That's what Beaumont means. It means beautiful mountain. Oh yeah, it's a song. Yeah, it's a song. I forget who wrote it. And it really means beautiful mountain. So I'm here. Like I said, by the second or third day, I'm ready to come home. Not that people say it's not but it is beautiful. It's just all about how you see it.
Right.
Our area, we really supply to the world.
We do. We do.
I don't even want to say, I can't even say what I think it's truly worth. But I believe we've come a long way with our, civic leaders are making Beaumont look better and continue to make it look better. But I really am happy in Beaumont.
Okay.
I'm good.
Good. Okay. Now, my final question. Who do you think would make an excellent guest on this show, but you have to help me get them on?
It would be Pastor Councilman Randy Felshaw, of course. And I'd be happy to, get with him and get him here.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Charmaine, for being
I
bold
hope I did
enough.
okay.
Oh my goodness, being bold enough to sit in the uncomfortable, controversial.
I'm always in an uncomfortable seat. Remember that.
This is true. This is true. So this is your natural.
Yes.
This is your natural.
Yes.
But thank you so much for
thank
agreeing
you.
to do the interview and making time to sit and discuss race and religion
Thank you.
with me on this show. And thank you for tuning in and watching. Stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.